Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending the webinar, FFIEC Guidance on Internet Banking Authentication. My name is Maria Norberg, and I'm an account rep here at Supernal Software. Just a couple things before we get started, a few housekeeping things. If you'd like to ask a question today during the webinar, there's a couple ways you can do that. I'll be monitoring the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar screen, so if you'd like to ask a question, feel free to enter one into the Questions tab, or I'll also be monitoring the Chat tab. If you'd like to ask a question out loud to the entire group, you can also hit the Raise Your Hand button on your GoToWebinar dashboard. So I will be monitoring that, and we will be available for questions then at the end as well. So with that, I'll turn it over here to Tom Esden. Tom was a state examiner for 20 years and then became an executive vice president for another 10 years, doing branch and operations and compliance work there at a financial institution, and is now our VP of Compliance Services here at Supernal. So Tom, I'll turn it over to you, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Maria, and I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy Friday morning to attend this webinar. I think this is a very interesting subject. Again, the compliance deadline for this is looming here in just a couple weeks. It's hard to believe that the year has flown by and 2012 was just around the corner. So we're getting a lot of questions here from subscribers and from other people just looking for some more information on this guidance. And you know, I guess I'm getting a lot of questions, and I was having a hard time understanding what was driving some of the questions. So I started looking around at some of the stuff that's out there, and I'm starting to see that there's a lot of misinformation that, from my perspective, is flying around out there about this. So we've done a webinar for our subscribers about a month ago on this, and so this is kind of a follow-up to that, and hopefully provide a little more you know, actual guidance on what the expectations are for the Internet Banking Authentication guidance. But before we get into that, you know, I just wanted to mention, too, that there was a new publication put out by the FDIC on Wednesday. And it's a Supervisory Insights publication. It's the winter edition. And in that particular publication, there was an article, which I'm calling a white paper, on mobile banking. And on the very first page of this white paper, it says this article should not be considered as supervisory guidance. So it hasn't reached that level yet, but it is written by one of their policy analysts, and it goes into a lot of details and explanations of what the FDIC you know, thinks about mobile banking, some of the risks, the rewards, the good and the bad, and things to start considering. Here at Supernal, you know, we've been tracking this as well. We've already got some mobile banking risk and controls and features built in to scout the risk assessment tool. But again, this just came out on Wednesday. We're pouring over this particular document, and there's some pretty interesting things in there that we're going to make some changes to scout, even though this isn't supervisory guidance. We think it's solid enough that we're going to make some changes so that you know, our subscribers and users of Scout can get a jump on this. And so we're actually planning another webinar similar to today for January. I think that's January 18th and 19th. So watch your emails for announcements about that webinar, where we'll go through and show you the changes that we've made to constantly keep you, our users, updated and informed of the latest and greatest stuff that's being bandied around out there. So again, watch for that update coming in January of 2012. So let's get to the actual FFIEC guidance that's out there. This was actually published back in June of 2011, towards the end of June. And I've copied a little bit of it here just for demonstration. One of the questions and things that we're getting is that, you know, hey, you know, everybody's saying that I need to do a separate risk assessment for Internet banking. And you know, why isn't there a separate module within Scout to do an Internet banking risk assessment? So a couple of ways that we're addressing this. First, again, on page 3, towards the top of the supplemental guidance, what I have highlighted here is that financial institutions should review and update their existing risk assessments. So many of you already have internet banking, bill payment, cash management programs listed as product services or information assets within your GLBA information security risk assessment. At some point in time, internet banking was probably a new product or service for your bank or credit union, and you may have done a separate risk assessment at that time, and again, based upon the guidance back out in 2005, and again, still stands today, says you need to do a risk assessment. But, you know, a lot of the guidance coming out says it doesn't necessarily need to be a separate risk assessment. You can, again, update it if you've got it included in an existing risk assessment. Even the white paper published on Wednesday for mobile banking, again, it doesn't say conduct a separate risk assessment. It just says conduct a comprehensive risk assessment or update existing assessments during design, testing, and implementation of a mobile banking product. So, you know, I hope that, you know, again, it seems to us to be pretty black and white, that it's not necessarily a separate risk assessment that needs to be performed, but it can be included as part of your GLBA, information security risk assessment. We've thought long and hard about this here, and so the last couple of days in working with our development team, the team of programmers working on this, we don't think it's necessarily prudent to develop a whole separate module for this, but we do see some value in giving users the flexibility to include these items, which is already in your GLBA risk assessment, but to be able to produce a report that would isolate just your online banking information assets into a separate risk assessment report. So what we're going to be doing is getting that work done. I know we've got a number of things we're working on right now, but we hope to shortly after the first of the year have that custom reporting available to all of our users. And I'm just going to switch over to a Scout. This is just a demo site that I've got hooked up just to show you that existing within your existing risk assessment, you'll see items such as what I have highlighted here, bill payment. You may have a cash management program that allows your commercial customers to initiate ACH originations or wire transfers, and then down here below also online banking. Again, another separate information asset that just covers the basic online banking. Money doesn't leave the bank, but be transferred amongst the accounts within your organization. So we've got those items already listed. What our intention is instead of having a total replication of these items that are already within Scout, we're just going to provide advanced reporting capabilities so that you can isolate those items and produce reports. You don't have to do double the work. It's already in there. And what I mean by it's already in there, such as the Prego commercial that everybody's seen, if I click on bill payment is going to include, here's the description of what we mean by bill payment. Here's what we allow our customers to do, what types of transactions within bill payment. We've got the type of asset that it is, what it's capable of doing, what types of information it contains, a list of the risks associated with that, a list of controls to mitigate those risks that we've identified, the importance rating for this particular asset to our operations, initial and residual risk values. Similarly, we've got a very distinct things here then for cash management. I click on cash management. Again, I'm going to see here's a description of what we allow our customers to do here. Again, risk controls, everything all detailed. So we're going to go through a little bit of this in detail of how you'd actually use Scout to meet the compliance with the guidance. But I just wanted to, again, show you here's what we're planning to provide for this based on feedback from a lot of you over the past several months. Okay, so from here, you just want to go back into the guidance, and there's some very specific things that the guidance is asking all financial institutions to make sure their risk assessment considers. The first one is changes in the risk environment. Are there new risks, new controls to mitigate those new risks? Are you taking advantage of them? Are you aware of them? What are you planning on doing? Take a look at the customer base changes. What's going on with your customer base? This could be just changes in who's using it. As you offer cash management services, you might get more commercial customers using this versus consumers. You might see changes in penetration rates, whereas maybe only 20% of your customer base is utilizing online activities, and all of a sudden that mushrooms into 75% of your customer base using online banking. Probably doesn't happen quite that quickly, but again, this is what they mean by taking a look at customer base changes. What additional risks do these changes in usage cause to the organization? Changes in functionality. How has your product changed and evolved over the years that you may have been involved with it? Again, going from just strictly online banking where I can let you see balances, transfer balances within your account, but that's it, and then migrating up to a bill payment type system, allow you to pay payees outside of the bank, move money outside at any time, night or day, from any internet location, and ultimately up to the cash management or treasury management services that allows the initiation of ACH origination and wire transfer capabilities. Again, changes in functionality. And then actually take a look at any actual incidences your organization may have run across dealing with risk and what controls could better help you protect against those risks in the future. So again, a number of things that within Scout will help you identify these. So I just wanted to go through these one by one to kind of show you, how you'll use Scout then to help keep in compliance with this guidance.